It starts with something so simple, a trip to a flower shop on a quiet afternoon, but in the world of Belly and Conrad, nothing is ever just simple. Every step they take together feels heavy with memories, every glance loaded with questions. Neither of them is ready to ask. The moment they walk in, the air changes. The warm, sweet scent of fresh flowers surrounds them, and the golden sunlight through the window paints them in soft light, almost making it feel like a scene from a dream. But dreams can be bittersweet, and this one is no different. Because under the beauty of petals and soft colors lies the weight of everything they've left unsaid. The flower shop is alive with color-bright yellows, deep reds, gentle pastels, each one a reminder of a different season of their lives. Belly drifts toward a display of daisies, her fingers brushing the petals with a kind of absent-minded care, like she's lost in thought. Conrad watches her from a few steps away, his hands tucked into his pockets, his expression unreadable, but his eyes betraying something softer. There's no rush here, no need to pick anything quickly, yet the air feels like it's ticking with quiet urgency. It's not about the flowers. It's about being here together, after everything, in a place where there's no ocean between them, no party noise, no friends interrupting, just them. Belly reaches for a bunch of roses, hesitating for a second, before setting them back down. Her smile is small, almost shy, as if the choice feels too obvious, too romantic. Conrad shifts slightly, taking a step toward a table filled with lilac, his fingers grazing a stem before he looks at her again. It's not a conversation, but it's more than silence. Their choices are like words, and each one says something neither is brave enough to speak. She notices, of course Belly has always noticed when it comes to him, but instead of asking, she looks away, pretending to study a bouquet wrapped in brown paper. The shop owner offers to help, but both politely shake their heads, still caught in this quiet orbit around each other. The sound of soft music plays in the background, barely heard over the pounding in Belly's chest. Every time Conrad moves closer, she feels it, the way she used to feel his presence in the summers when things were simpler. The distance between them now isn't measured in feet, it's in all the moments they missed. The words they didn't say, the choices they made that led them here. And yet, for this brief afternoon, they're sharing the same space, breathing the same air, pretending that picking flowers is just picking flowers, but deep down, they both know it's never just about the flowers. Belly's movements inside the flower shop are light, almost careful, as though she's afraid to disturb. A quiet balance between them. She keeps her hands busy, touching petals, adjusting a stem here and there, but her eyes, when they wander toward Conrad, give her away. They're searching, almost asking a silent question she's not ready to voice. Conrad, on the other hand, seems anchored in place, his posture relaxed yet guarded, like he's trying to stay composed while every nerve is aware of her. He doesn't need to say a word. The way he shifts his weight, the small pauses before he moves closer, tell a whole story. There's an unspoken rhythm between them, something only people who have shared history can understand. When Belly steps to the side, Conrad naturally steps in. When she reaches up to smell a bloom, he subtly leans in, close enough to catch the faint scent of her hair mixed with the flowers. Their hands brush once, just for a second, when they both reach for the same bouquet of sunflowers. She pulls back first, a tiny laugh escaping her lips. But the sound is fragile, as if she's afraid it might shatter the moment. Conrad's mouth tilts into the smallest smile, the kind that's there and gone in an instant. Every glance is layered with meaning. Sometimes Conrad looks at her like he's remembering something, maybe a summer evening on the beach, maybe a car ride with the windows down and music loud. Other times his gaze drops quickly, as if holding her eyes too long might give away more than he's willing to admit. Belly feels it too. Her own gaze flickers between the flowers and his face, caught between wanting to connect and wanting to protect herself. The way they stand says as much as any conversation could. Belly often turns her shoulders toward him without realizing it, a subtle sign of openness she can't quite hide. Conrad's arms stay loosely at his sides, never crossing, but his fingers fidget slightly with a leaf or a stem, betraying the nerves he tries to mask. It's a dance without music, each step measured, each pause deliberate, Even the smallest gestures feel charged. When Conrad hands her a single daisy he's been holding, his fingertips barely touch hers, but the contact is enough to pull her back into 100 moments when things between them were different easier. She accepts it without a word, tucking the daisy into the crook of her arm alongside a few other blooms. It's nothing, really. And yet, it's everything. The longer they stay in the shop, the more the silence between them shifts. It's no longer heavy with discomfort, but it isn't light either. It's dense with all the things they're not saying. Belly catches herself wanting to fill it, to ask if he's okay, to tell him she's glad they're here together, even if it's just for a little while. But instead, she lets the moment stretch. Afraid that speaking might break whatever fragile peace they've found, Conrad's glances grow softer as time passes, and there's a warmth in his eyes that wasn't there when they first walked in. Maybe it's the flowers, maybe it's the stillness, or maybe it's just being close to her again. Belly senses it too. Her breathing slows, her steps become smaller, as if she's unconsciously trying to make the moment last. The space between them feels like a delicate thread pulled too hard and it will snap. Let it go, and it will slip away. By the time they finally drift toward the counter, their movements have synchronized completely. No one watching would see anything unusual. It would look like two people quietly choosing flowers. But anyone who knows them, anyone who's seen the way they look at each other, would know this is something else entirely. This is the kind of silence that speaks louder than words, the kind that carries both the weight of the past and the possibility of what might still be ahead. Asterisk, the flowers they choose are more than decorations, they are reflections of unspoken truths. Belly's hand lingers over a cluster of white lilac, her fingers gently tracing their smooth petals. Lilac have always carried meanings of renewal and purity, but here, in this moment, they seem to speak of a fresh start she isn't sure she's allowed to have. She picks one up, turning it slightly in the light, and for a brief second, she looks almost peaceful. But then she sets it back, as though afraid of what it might imply. Conrad notices. He notices everything when it comes to her, but he doesn't say a word. Instead, his attention is drawn to a small bucket of yellow roses. Yellow roses are tricky. They symbolize friendship, warmth, and joy, but they can also whisper of love unspoken or bonds tested by time. Conrad turns one in his hand, studying it as if it might give him an answer he's been searching for. The yellow is bright and bold, yet there's something fragile about the way its petals curl at the edges. He glances toward Belly, and for a moment, the rose is no longer just a flower, it's a quiet offering, a bridge between where they've been and where they might go. Belly eventually drifts toward a shelf lined with daisies. Daisies have always been her kind of flower, simple, cheerful, and honest. They remind her of the summers when things were uncomplicated, when a day with Conrad could be spent in the sun without the shadow of heartbreak. She picks a few stems, holding them close as if they might bring that feeling back. Conrad watches her, the corner of his mouth tightening, not with disapproval, but with something like longing. It's as if he knows exactly why she chose them. Even if she doesn't say it out loud, their choices are careful but revealing. Belly avoids the deep red roses that scream passion and romance, choosing instead softer tones, pale pinks, creamy whites, sunny yellows. Conrad gravitates toward flowers with a quiet strength, lilac, sunflowers, and that single yellow rose still in his hand. Each selection feels like a coded message, a way to speak without the risk of being misunderstood. The shopkeeper offers to wrap the flowers together, but Belly quickly says they'll keep them separate. Her voice is light, casual, but Conrad catches the meaning beneath it. Separate bouquets mean separate stories, even if they were chosen side by side. Still, there's something about the way the colors complement each other, the soft whites and yellows of Belly's bundle blending naturally with the warm golds and deep greens of Conrad's. It's almost as if, despite their efforts to keep things divided, the flowers themselves want to tell a different story. The symbolism deepens when Conrad adds a sprig of lavender to his selection. Lavender is a flower of calm, trust, and healing, a gentle peace offering in bloom. Belly doesn't comment on it, but her eyes linger for a moment too long. her lips parting as if she's about to say something before she thinks better of it. She adds a single white daisy to her bouquet, almost like an answer, a reminder that she's still holding on to hope, even if it's small. As they stand at the counter, the two bouquets side by side are a quiet reflection of their relationship. Separate but connected, different yet undeniably linked. Anyone else might see random flowers chosen at random moments, but for them, the choices carry weight. Each stem, each color, is a snapshot of how they feel in this exact moment, tentative, careful, but still tied to something real. The shopkeeper ties Conrad's flowers with a deep green ribbon, and Belly's with a soft yellow one, 2 colors, 2 paths. But as they step out of the shop, the sunlight catches the blooms, blending them into a single, warm palette. It's as if the world refuses to keep them apart. No matter how carefully they try, the air between them feels different the moment they step outside the flower shop, as if the scent of the blooms they carry has wrapped itself around all the things they're not saying. The sunlight is warm, the street quiet, but inside both of them, there's a low hum of tension, soft enough to hide, strong enough to feel. Belly walks slightly ahead, her bouquet cradled in her arms, eyes fixed on the ground as if she's studying the cracks in the pavement. Conrad follows, his own flowers held loosely at his side, his gaze more often on her than the road ahead. It's not awkward silence. Every step feels like a sentence they're both too cautious to start. Belly's mind is a swirl of what-ifs. She wonders if he notices the way her fingers tighten around the stems, if he can tell that each flower she chose was because of him in some way. She wants to ask him why he picked a yellow rose, why he added lavender at the last moment, but the words don't come. Speaking them aloud might unravel something she's barely holding together. Conrad is fighting his own battle. He thinks about the way her smile wavered in the shop, how she looked at the daisies like they were the only safe choice. He wonders if she knows that he almost picked the red roses, that he stopped himself because he didn't want to scare her away. Every memory between them is both a comfort and a wound, and right now he's not sure which side is winning. The unspoken tension sharpens when they reach a crosswalk. They stop side by side, their shoulders nearly brushing, the flowers in their arms like delicate shields. Belly feels his presence so close that it makes her pulse quicken, and for a second, she's tempted to turn and meet his eyes. But she doesn't. Conrad glances at her anyway, his jaw tightening just slightly. The kind of subtle shift that says more than any sigh or shake of the head could. There are moments when their eyes almost meet, and when they do, it's like both of them step onto thin ice, one wrong move and it will crack. But in those fleeting connections, there's a shared understanding. They both know this isn't just about flowers. It's about every summer, every late-night conversation, every fight, and every time they walked away instead of staying. The weight of their history is there in the way they look at each other, in the small, sharp breaths they take when the silence gets too loud. They pass a small cafe with tables spilling out onto the sidewalk. The smell of coffee and fresh pastries drifts toward them, and for a second, Belly almost suggests they stop. It's such a simple thought, two people taking a break together, but the fear of what might be said over coffee keeps her quiet. Conrad notices her pause, sees the way her head tilts slightly toward the cafe, and for a moment he thinks about asking. But like her, he stays silent. Neither of them is ready to risk tipping the balance, their steps eventually slow, almost as if neither of them wants the walk to end. The flowers feel heavier now, the weight of them a reminder of what they're carrying inside. Conrad finally breaks the silence, but it's only to ask where she wants to go next. His voice is even calm, but Belly hears the hesitation in it. She answers quickly, too quickly, pointing toward a street that takes them further away from the shore. She doesn't want the ocean in view right now. It would only remind her of all the things they lost there. Still, the tension between them isn't entirely painful. There's a strange comfort in it, too, like knowing someone so well that you don't need words. But comfort isn't closure, and both of them know that eventually they'll have to talk. Just not today. Today, they'll let the flowers speak for them, let the silence stretch between their steps, and pretend that the weight in their chests is only the summer heat. As they disappear down the quiet street, the world around them carries on as if nothing is happening. But for Belly and Conrad, this walk is everything, a moment suspended between the past they can't forget and the future they're too afraid to imagine. The flowers will wilt, the afternoon will fade, but the silence they shared will stay with them, lingering like the scent of blooms long after they're gone.